Wonderbirds are supported by dogfriendly.co.uk, improving the lives of dogs and their owners.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to our lovely guest presenter, Leslie Joseph.
Yay! Can I just say I'm thrilled because having 20 years being a bird of a feather, I am now a wonder bird. So that's actually rather
You are. It's a logical progression, darling. Who knew?
It is. Goodness knows what comes after this.
It is. Exactly.
They
Another
are
bird.
Wow.
Yay.
How fabulous.
How's life with you?
Well, life
How
is
you
good.
doing?
It's quite quiet. It's actually rather surreal. And I have to say, I've sort of rediscovered who I am in a weird way. Because, you know, when you're used to running around doing lots of things, meeting friends, working, you sort of forget where your roots are. So actually, everybody who meets me now says, oh, my goodness, you're so relaxed.
Oh,
Sort of am much more. I sort of, all that stress of running around and learning lines and everything. But I have to say, I can't wait to get back to work.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's
Absolutely.
really rather nice to be to find me again. But I don't know whether you're finding that, Sherry or Dee or Harriet.
well, I think it's. I think particularly for you, theatre coming back will be the best thing ever, won't it? I mean, just to see them open for a start. So I think, and Canto coming back as well. You know, I mean, we hope. But I think that's one of the most important things to open now, for particularly for us lot that do this funny job we do.
I think it is, and I think everybody's really, really careful now. I'm going to be wearing my mask for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Between lots of very exotic ones, Japanese materials and sparkle buzzes, and just
it's taken on. The mask has taken on a new accessory.
I know.
Sort of thing in our lives, actually, vital, and what styles we have and etc. But darlings, can I bring in our first guest today, my darling friend and partner in crime for many years, Helen Lederer.
Me! There you are.
She is.
Hello.
Hello, Helen.
Hi, Helen. Good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you all in your beautiful?
Well, you know.
Well, dear, up and down. It's so lovely to see you, darling. I wanted to say, I mean, we've worked together, I think, for almost 40 years.
Oh, my God.
I know, dear. I've tried to block it out because we were also at the same drama school, and we used to talk in the foyer at Central School of Screech and Trauma, we used to call it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Many moons. And I think that was some, I don't know, 17. Anyway, whatever. Moving on.
Look at my face. I'm following all this because I'm so old. I can't always remember the details, but I will accept everything you've just said, and it's true.
We were lucky.
Whoever you are.
Yes, exactly. Oh, Harriet,
yes.
Yeah.
And actually, we worked together just 2 weeks ago, but we can't talk about that now. But anyway, darling,
you're very strict, Harriet. So Harriet, ladies and gentlemen, Harriet always has to remind me what I mustn't do because I'm not 100% on the social media.
Yes.
So she sees I do something, and then there's this little message on the answer machine going, "Darling, it's lovely that you did, but could you just not?" And I go, "Oh, sorry, okay." So no, I'm guided. You are a social media guru.
I'm guided by equity, darling. That's all I can say. Helen, I want to talk to you about your parents because the BBC made an entire documentary about a secret life that you never knew about.
No, it is a bit odd. Yes, the parents. Well, obviously, being this age, my parents are no longer with us. I assume. Well, no, so you've absolutely lovely dad. Has other people got their parents in our room? No. I mean, at this age, it's chances are you won't have. So, so there were 2 programs that were made, and one of them, there was a program called War Hero in Your Family, which the implication was that there would be a hero in your family to merit that title and you being in the program. So off I went to Auschwitz, which is a place that personally I had chosen not to go to, and discovered a whole load of stuff about my grandfather, who had come over from Czechoslovakia in the war, as many people did, and his story. So he was what we call a secret listener. So my grandmother would wave him off to go to the Home Guard ostensibly, but actually he was going to Trent Park, and because he spoke German and Czech, secretly listening to the captured prisoners of war, German, and reporting all that. At the same time, my mother was at Bletchley Park because when she was at university, they said to her, do you want to be on the land, or do you want to be in a nice warm hut decoding messages? So she sensibly chose, oh, I think I'll go with the nice warm hut, thank you. And forget picking potatoes on the land. So there was another program where they incorporated both my grandfather and my mother doing this work in the war. And in those days, I'm sure you will have that with your parents' generation, they signed the Secrets Act and they just didn't talk about it. I knew she did the crossword every day, which I could never do with a brain like mine. Can you imagine me working on a crossword? I get bored after 2 seconds. But attention deficit, I think. But so yes, and in those days, my mother would have a Dubonnet and not talk about it in the evening.
Or a Dubonnet, I like that.
Yes, a nice Dubonnet and bitter lemon. And and so
Helen,
there was.
Can I ask?
Yes.
How did you find out about it? Was the first time you found out about it when they made the documentary?
Well, when the good question, Leslie. I mean, I knew that she had been at Bletchley because my godmother, she had made friends very much like a blue stocking that there were 3 of them that met at Bletchley, and one of them was my godfather, Anne Crossman. So they had the life of Riley, I think, romanticizing it after the war, living in a flat together, doing all the stuff that Harriet and I probably got up to in our youth.
Definitely.
But she didn't talk about the details. So in that program, they took me to the hut, hut 9, I think it was, and I was in the hut, and it was just weird. I know they've reconstructed it. Bletchley is the most amazingly interesting place, and you walk there and you hear the sounds of people playing tennis, and it was just thousands and thousands of wow, changing the war, you know, finding intelligence that you know that we needed.
Didn't all the women have bricks? There's a sort of to honor them all, they all have their names in the brick.
My mother has a brick, Harriet.
Wow.
There is a brick, and then she has a strange name because she came from the Isle of Wight. So my father came from Czechoslovakia, my mother from the Isle of Wight, Ablett. And her middle name was Effie, which is very strange. So all the, you know, when you're at school and you just get really embarrassed about being different. So I was really embarrassed about my surname because people would always go, Lederer. Okay, is that E-R-E-R? Like you've got an R? Like you've got lots of E's? And then my mum's middle name was Effie, which I never told anyone because it's so embarrassing. So there we are. That's my story.
Ellen, I absolutely applaud what your parents did, and I don't think we should ever underestimate what they did at Bletchley. But I want to ask you about something I know is quite close to your heart. That is Comedy Women in Print.
Oh, bless you for asking, Leslie.
Talk to me about
and as a clever, writerly person who's very witty, this yourself, but all of you, obviously, I wrote a comedy novel, Losing It. Looked around for a literary prize to win. There wasn't one. So I set up my own. But as you do. But the Losing It did get nominated, I have to say, for the P.G. Wodehouse Comedy Literary Prize. And that was the only comedy literary prize that existed. And it's one of those things, and I'm sure you've all, because you're all doing Achieving Women, you're all amazing. And it's like sometimes you have an idea, and the best thing is just to leave it as an idea and not follow through. But because there wasn't a literary prize for witty women, writers, authors, we're not talking about sort of stand-up or performing, therefore everyone I spoke to about it said, yeah, that hasn't been done. And so it's been 5 years of my trying to make myself into an administrative person. As Harriet would tell you, I'm very bad with people. I'm very bad at managing people. I get very stressed and anxious. I don't know how it survived, but we're in our 3rd year. Maureen Lipman is a judge. Stephen McGovern is a judge. You know, people support this because the winner of the unpublished prize becomes published by HarperCollins. So it's a dream come true for a truly unpublished writer. And the winner of the published gets loads of press. And there's a big party. So what's not to like?
That's just so exciting. I want to just talk to you firstly about our gig. Oh, sorry, I'm going out. our gig that we did together at the Grouch.
Do you know, Sherry, I remember that gig, and in one of my stand-up routines afterwards, I actually included it.
Did you?
With love. But would you like to tell the ladies and gentlemen what we were promoting something? I mean, it wasn't just like being friendly. We were being paid for it. What were we promoting,
were being paid,
Sherry?
please understand, we were being paid.
What were we promoting? Do you want to say?
It was to do with tenor ladies.
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
I know it sounds. In fact, it's very fun. But we had a really good time, and
I sat with you.
We took it serious.
Oh well, if you're paid, any one of us would have done the same. But we were sitting behind a panel, Leslie, dear, and Harriet. We were sitting behind a panel, and there was a kind of evening wear bag, or an evening version of a tenor, or maybe I'm making that up. But it was quite sort of like cocktaily, and we were trying to go, this is really nice. And we were displaying the tenor in an attractive way to the good invited audience in the Grouch show. Weren't we? We bonded over a tenor pad. And I did mention you, like, you know, the places you meet wonderful people displaying tenor, which is important. And then I was thinking with, you know, maybe you could make them for men who didn't want to wear trousers. I don't, anyway, enough.
That's brilliant.
But to have everything out.
Oh, fabulous.
That's brilliant to incorporate that into your stand-up.
That is so funny.
Because I just think you're amazing that you do stand-up. Women stand-up, I think, is the best ever. But it's one of the toughest worlds, isn't it, for women?
I'm sure you could all do it, and you probably do it all the time. I mean, Leslie, you do it. You know, when you go about your business, you're standing there being funny. So it's all labels, isn't it? But in the 80s, there weren't many women doing it.
I do after dinners and ladies' lunches. And the more men that are there, the more risque I get. You see their faces.
Yes,
is when you
I can imagine.
Have you ever seen each other naked? Or two 450 insurance men? They'll go,
please.
Yes.
Please, will you invite us to
but they love that,
darling.
But now you've said that, Helen, I'm going to incorporate tenor for men.
Oh yeah, tenor for men.
I have to say, the biggest compliment I've ever had was when you were first in Absolutely Fabulous. A neighbour of mine, I bumped into him and he went, I have just seen your double on Absolutely Fabulous. I went, who?
I thought that.
Yeah.
I looked at you and I thought, we're related.
We're definitely related.
Are we related, Dee?
We must be, darling. We must be. And I know that, ancestors of mine were also from Czechoslovakia. And so, I'm sure we are.
Oh, my goodness.
There you go.
Anyway, darling, your writing, your books, I wanted to talk to you about those because you're so, multi-talented.
I'm writing a memoir now, and I'm sure that you've already done yours or are doing, and I find it, because I have no memory, and we're similar generation, all of us, aren't we? To go back and just think when you did a thing and the date. Leslie, could you remember when you did the first Birds of a Feather?
I can't remember this morning or yesterday.
No, exactly. So there's the kind of boring date bits, but then did you find in lockdown that you kind of reflected a lot? And I kept thinking, oh no, I really upset that person 5-10 years ago, or what? You know what I mean? It makes you just sort of go through all the things you got wrong. So it's actually not a terribly cheerful process, because I keep thinking, oh, I fell out with that person. Oh, did I fall out? Did they like, all that?
Yeah.
But, it will. But I think I want it to reflect all the kind of head stuff that was going on at the time, and why are we trying to be funny when the world, there weren't many women doing it at the time. So what made me want to stand on stage in my trousers and my woolen vest and clean hair and think that people wanted to listen to me? I mean, what a cheek. All those things. So I just want it finished, and then can I come on your nice program again and be complimented about that book when I've done that one?
Most definitely.
Darling, anytime.
In terms of time, again, the reflection that we've all been afforded with our different lifestyle in the last year. I do try and think, I would like to live a life where I don't sweat the small stuff. I would like to achieve good things. Yeah. I'd like to have more fun. I'd like to have people round in my house like they did in the 1970s, and like, you know, just have a nice time. And yeah, it'd be nice to be on TV again, Dee. Yeah, it'd be nice. But I don't expect, I think the important thing about being this age is I kind of make my own work. And if that's my lot, I accept it now. I sulked in my 40s a lot. Yeah. But I wanted to be Miranda Hart. I thought, why, it's not happening. And then I think 5 years of sulking brought me to now, where you just carry on making things happen. And, you know, and if a job comes in, like I have got a job later, I just whoop. I just go, how fantastic a job.
Oh. So, all right, my darling.
We'll see you soon, darling.
See you very
soon at a dinner party. Yes. Furniture. Bye.
Bye.
That was amazing.
That was just funny.
What a joy. She's so wonderful. She is. Oh, God. Well, we've got another great guest today, and that is the lovely Sally Hughes from this beautiful theatre, which is quite near to me, actually. It's the Mill at Sonning.
Yay! Hello, Sally.
Hi. Welcome to our
darling. Oh, Sally, it's so lovely to see you. How have you been holding out in this, you know, the last year with lockdown with your beautiful theatre? I mean, it must be really weird that you're just opening up again. Are you apprehensive about it, or I mean, tell us about what's been happening?
Well, the year has been extraordinary for everyone, particularly in our profession. But if we're just talking about the Mill, it has been so difficult, and we've got here. It's been a fight.
Yes.
Financially, just keeping going. But because of our amazing customers, who some of them have moved their tickets 3-4 times.
No.
Over the year. I mean, it's just been extraordinary. Extraordinary. Because I kept, you know, scheduling shows, thinking we're going to open in October, we're going to open at Christmas, we're going to open in January, and then of course everything got so and just everyone. We've got 60 permanent staff apart from the actors and freelancers.
Wow.
They've all been on furlough and they've kept their jobs. So we've been bringing them back very gently over the last few weeks to just reintroduce them working again.
Because you've got some great people affiliated with you. I mean, Wendy Craig, who's a great friend of my mum's and myself now, introduced the Mill at Sonning to me. And I've seen so many wonderful productions with new writers. And you know, you take risks. I just think it's wonderful. And actually, your parents bought the Mill, didn't they, in '79?
They did. My parents bought the Mill in '79, and obviously, I was at drama school in the late '70s. I was at Webber Douglas, and they were thinking of a project to go into their older age with. Probably about my age now, which we won't mention. That might be. I took them to the King's Head to see Edith Piaf, Je vous aime, with Libby Morris. And as we came out of the King's Head, Chuck Mallet, do you remember Chuck Mallet?
Yes, of course.
He was my singing teacher for a little while, all those years ago. As we came out, my mum said, she said, what about a dinner theatre? And we'd grown up in America and South America, and there were lots of dinner theatres where you sit down at your table and chair and watch from your tables and chairs, like the old King's Head used to do.
Yeah.
Although a bit, but we'll talk about dinner theatre later. But so the idea came first, and they set about looking for a venue to change, and they used to go out from London every weekend, and they came upon the Mill at Sonning. They saw the for sale sign as they drove through the village. And they drove in and they broke into this building. It was all boarded up. And there were things at the very top. Where the theatre was the granary, where all the grain was. And then to get to each floor of the restaurant, you'd climb a little ladder through a hole in the floor. But they had great vision. So they sold their house in London and they bought a house in Sonning, and they bought the Mill for next to nothing. Because
how exciting.
I have to ask, I'm thrilled that you do dinner theatre, because actually very few people do. I mean, I did dinner theatre back at the Astoria in Charing Cross Road, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, do you think it is very much an American thing? And why do you think more people don't do it over here? Or is it just that they don't have the venues which would work for dinner theatre?
I think you've got to find the venue. I mean, I think in London it would be pointless to have a dinner theatre because you've got all those fabulous restaurants right there next to the theatres. So I don't think it quite works, although at the Astoria it did. And also it's more like a, I suppose, talk of the town or cabaret.
Yes.
But it certainly worked for us. But in America, of course, you're there eating while the show is going on in front of you. Whereas Peter Regan was our first artistic director. Lovely.
Wow. Yeah.
And he came in fairly early on in the game of converting, and he said to them, you can't have dinner and theatre at the same time. You've got to separate.
I think we did, which was fairly interesting.
Yes. So sort of I love being chinked as your. It kind of stops you doing anything too serious.
Yeah, you have to incorporate it into the entertainment.
Yes, yes. So, but the building lent itself to a beautiful restaurant and the auditorium and the bar. Everything was there. So yeah, we opened in '82. It's our 40th anniversary next year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's amazing.
How can I just say to you, I was reading about the mill, and I think you've got plans to do lots of things, haven't you, with the mill in the future? Tell us about that.
Well, this was it goes back a little bit to these plans. It's in 2008, the last big recession that we had. It was fairly disastrous, and we lost half of our customers.
Oh,
we went from 60,000 a year to 30,000 a year, which is customers. And then as we started to come out of the recession, they weren't necessarily coming back too quickly. And I knew that we had to change something. And I got a wonderful food consultant from Prue Leith to come along. And he and his wife came to see a show, and they loved what was happening in the theatre. But they said that the front of house and the dinner was a bit like a hotel in Torquay in the 1970s.
Oh.
He said, I'm going to be very brutal. I said, that's what you're here for, be brutal. He said, you can make little changes, but that won't get your new audience in. And so I set about changing the mill, asking investors. In the end, it was a bank, but I did speak to lovely Ray Cooney.
Yes.
And he invested a little money in it, a lot of money in it, actually. Wonderful Ray. And he said, I'm going to send it to a friend of mine called Laurie Marsh. I'm sure you've heard of Laurie, wonderful Laurie Marsh. Laurie came to the mill. He said, I'm not going to invest any money. He said, you own the building. I said, yes. He said, well, enabling development. He said, we're going to get planning permission for apartments and 2 houses, new rehearsal room, storage space. And I said, but we can't because we are in a flood zone, we're this, we're that. He said, we're going to do it. He'd done it with other theatres, and we did. And we got slightly kiboshed in that we found very rare bats in the rehearsal room.
Oh, wow.
The rarest form of pipistrelle bat. We couldn't move forwards until we got the license. So that all seems to be converging for this August, for it to start happening for this August. So
that's very exciting.
Yes, I mean, it's going to be a couple of years, but in the meantime, I have upgraded the restaurant, the bar. If you've been to the bar in the last few years, and the restaurant, kitchens, lighting in the theatre. I mean, we've spent a lot of money on it, upgrading it, but it's an old building, you know, there's so much to do.
So you put on amazing musicals like Singing in the Rain and all sorts of things. So you've developed it amazingly and it's transformed. But more importantly, and it's been lovely listening to all your answers, the most important question, which we all want to know, is what was it like having George Clooney there?
It's wonderful. They come to every musical. They've seen every musical for the last 5 years. They stay afterwards and have drinks with the cast for probably about an hour and a half. They're there at the bar. George and Amal. Not last year, but the year before, 2019, we did Singing in the Rain. Amazing. He came on his own. Amal was in New York. He came on his own to see it. He thought it was fantastic. So he brought the whole family again. So he saw it twice. All right. They only let us know in the morning. They sort of ring up and say, in fact, one year, My Fair Lady, his chap that arranges everything for him, rang up and said, Sally, they'd like to come on Saturday night to see My Fair Lady. Have you got seats? 8 seats. This is over Christmas. I said, oh, yes, knowing it was absolutely sold out. So I said to the box office, those 8 seats, ring the people that are in them and see if they'll swap them, give them free seats, give them whatever, if they'll give up their tickets. They wouldn't give up their tickets. So our master carpenter built an extra row at the back.
No.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow. Family, and they came. So
oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
great.
They're wonderful. They're absolutely gorgeous couple.
So the future looks bright for the mill, Sally.
It does. It looks very bright. We just got to get through this year, I think. And
yeah,
actually opening something tonight.
We've got a comedy night tonight, and then our play, Relatively Speaking, which Robin Herford is directing.
Oh,
yes, lovely Robin. He's wonderful. It's the play that closed us in March 2020. We got 3 weeks out of it. We didn't finish the run, so we're reopening tomorrow. And then we've got lots of cabarets.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be over to see you.
I'll see you soon, Sally.
Let me know.
Absolutely, we'll do.
We will.
We will do.
Thank you for having me on your one.
And thank you for coming.
Thank you, darling. We'll see you soon, darling.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, well, Leslie, I've got to say that your lipstick and top match. I love. What is the colour of your? Can you tell us your secret, darling?
The secret is it's MAC makeup, and the lipstick is Lady Danger, which I have to say is my pseudonym for when I play poker.
Will you come back and tell us about your gambling? Darling, will you come back and tell us about your gambling, please?
Well, I don't call it gambling.
Please.
I put my hand.
No, we call it just a nice game of cards.
Myself with a pack of cards.
How many times a week, Leslie? How many times a week?
I love poker.
How many times a week, Leslie?
I can't remember because I've got a down brain.
Well, there's so much for coming in. There's strip poker and there's blind poker as well, isn't there?
Oh, darling.
It does not come into it at the moment.
You say that, yeah.
I say that.
Oh, can you imagine? That's made me feel quite ill, taking clothes off.
Thank you so much for coming in.
No, me taking my clothes off.
Okay, I need to call Matron and get everyone their medication. Matron!
See you soon. Thank you, Leslie, for coming on today.
Thank you, darling.
See you very soon.